From the NewsChannel 5 network, this is Sportsline.
Hey there, Sportsline on your television. Steve Lehman here with you. Glad you are here with us on News Channel 5. Plus, so much to get to again. NFL free agency putting a whole new meaning to keep your head on a swivel. Just stuff happening all around. Guys coming, guys going. It is just a fact of life right now and has been emphasized this year by the shrinking salary cap due to the impact of the pandemic. And so teams are trying to get under that cap. They're crunching numbers. They're cutting salary. And because of that, they're cutting players. And now you have free agency about to begin. So all these deals are being agreed upon during the legal tampering period. They'll all become official starting tomorrow as paperwork gets signed. But man, things are happening fast and furious around the NFL. Let's get into what the Titans did today. We want to hear from you. 737-7767. Chime in on these moves. What are you making of what John Robinson and the Titans are doing and what they have to do at this particular moment due to what's going on with the salary cap and the landscape of free agency in the NFL. So here's the first thing that happened today. The Titans cleared another chunk of change under that cap by releasing both cornerback Adoree Jackson and right tackle Dennis Kelly. Those guys obviously have played key roles for the Titans over the last several years. Jackson was the 17th overall pick in 2017. He had 200 tackles, a couple of interceptions. Unfortunately, only played 3 games last year due to that knee injury that sidelined him for really the first 3 months of the season. Kelly, on the other hand, last year was an absolute godsend for the team. He bailed them out in a big way after the total debacle of a pick with Isaiah Wilson. He started all 16 games at right tackle after being a really reliable backup that could swing between either the left or the right side over the previous, 4 seasons with the Titans since being acquired in a training camp trade back in August of 2016. And that move, regardless of what happened today, that move to get Kelly is going to go down as one of John Robinson's great moves as a Titans general manager. He traded Dorial Green-Beckham, who was disgruntled and not doing anything for this team, and John Robinson had seen enough. He managed to trade him out. DGB did nothing else in the league after that, and brought in Dennis Kelly from Philadelphia. And Kelly comes on and becomes a very reliable backup for this team and starts a whole bunch of games, some in a pinch, and last year for an entire season because of Isaiah Wilson. And he did a really good job. But he was going to get paid a fair amount this year, over a $5 million cap hit that the Titans just saved completely. Adoree Jackson was on about $10 million into the cap due to the Titans picking up his 5th-year option more than a year ago. In total, the Titans clear north of $16 million, closer to $17 million in salary cap just with those 2 moves. And it appears the replacements for those guys may already be in the offing, because later this afternoon, we found out from an agent that Janoris Jenkins, the veteran cornerback, has agreed to terms with the Titans. Terms of the deal not disclosed yet, but you got to think it's a cheaper deal. He just got released in New Orleans because he was making too much money. And so you bring him in now. And frankly, from a production standpoint, Jenkins has been the better cornerback than Adoree Jackson over the last several years. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's played 10 years in the league. He's got 26 career interceptions. 12 passes defended last year in New Orleans. Had 3 interceptions last year with the Saints. This is a guy that knows what he's doing. Has emphasized man coverage in his career and has been very good at it. And because of the circumstances right now, you're going to get him for pretty cheap. Or at least you would assume that. We haven't actually seen the details on the deal yet. But when you think about it now, the Titans have given up, or at least released or allowed to walk away, 6 different starters from last year. You've got Corey Davis, wide receiver, on the offensive side. You got Jonnu Smith at tight end. You now have Dennis Kelly, right tackle. And then on the defensive side, you have Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson at cornerback and Kenny Vaccaro at safety. That's 6 different starters from last year's team that will not be back. And the Titans have made some moves. As we mentioned, Janoris Jenkins comes in one of those cornerback positions. And yesterday, you saw 2 other moves on the defensive side of the ball where I think we're all in agreement the defense needed some help last year. But you bring in Bud Dupree, a disruptor, pass rusher, guy who makes an impact against the run game as well, outside linebacker, and you bring in Denico Autry from Indianapolis to go up front, to line up next to Big Jeff Simmons and hopefully impact things in the trenches for the Titans. So the Titans are doing a couple things. They are trying to trim money as much as humanly possible because everybody's got to get under that salary cap limit by tomorrow. So they're trying to save money. And they're trying to restructure that defense. They apparently decided last year, as good as the offense was, there was no chance that they could win at an elite level with a defense that was as bad as it was. And the other thing that this does is it puts a lot of pressure on Mike Vrabel because we talked to Mike Vrabel, and you heard it on this show. We played plenty of the sound. A lot of conversations with Mike Vrabel about what was wrong with the defense. Why did they struggle on third downs? Why did they struggle against the pass? Why was there no pass rush? Did he need to have a defensive coordinator after Dean Pease left? How involved was Shane Bowen? Was he part of the problem? Did Vrabel need to back off? And all of those answers all came back to something that everybody had to do a job better. But essentially that the players did. You know, everybody needs to up their game and be better, but that he was confident in the structure of the defense and in the defense itself. Well, without saying it, what that's saying is it's the players' problem. That the guys who are taking the calls and are taking the coaching and trying to execute the defense aren't doing good enough jobs. That's essentially what was told to us last year. And so, as you move forward here, how do you fix that? Well, it's not with the new coordinator. Shane Bowen just officially got the title, but he was the coordinator last year. The defensive scheme itself isn't changing because Bowen's there and Vrabel's still looking over the defense. So what changes? You change the personnel. And that's what John Robinson is doing right now. And if you look at the Titans defense, of the 11 guys who were projected as starters last year, now they all did not start in week 1. Adoree Jackson, namely, was out due to that knee injury at the start of the season. But of the 11 guys who were projected as starters last year for the Titans on defense, only 4 are still on the roster as the new league year begins. Jeff Simmons, Harold Landry, Rashaan Evans, Kevin Byard. That's it. And today, as all these moves were going down, Byard, who still has pretty good humor about the whole thing, tweeted out a GIF of Will Smith in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in the scene where he's in the living room looking around and everything's been packed up and moved out. And he's trying to figure out where everybody went. What happened? That's, I think, an adequate probably feeling or description of the feeling that Kevin Byard has right now. Where'd everybody go? What happened? Because the Titans had really had a core group of guys that had been together for quite some time. They're a reason why this team has won more games than it's lost in 5 straight seasons. It's a reason why this team won the AFC South title last year, was in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. Now, they had their flaws. They had some issues. But a lot of those core guys had been around for a while. And now a bunch of them are gone. Now, I still think you've got some players there. I mean, Jeff Simmons, I think, is going to be a star in this league, if he's not already a disruptor that changes the game up front. Rashawn Evans, Harold Landry have been fine. I don't think they've been spectacular, but they're solid players. Kevin Byard did not have a great 2020, but has been spectacular at times during his career in the league. And you put the four of them together, you got a pretty good sort of up-the-middle group there. Defensive tackle, linebackers, into the safety. And now you add Danico Autry, you add Bud Dupree, you add Janoris Jenkins. Those are guys who have been productive in the league elsewhere. The question is, what else goes around? What's the other cornerback situation look like? Is Christian Fulton good enough and healthy enough to step into that role this year? Or is there someone else to come in? I think Amani Hooker takes over for Kenny Vaccaro at safety. I think they felt good about him last year. He's played well. So I feel like they think that is a solid place to go. Gotta find somebody else up front, probably. We'll see. But the Titans' goal clearly right now has been, number one, clear cap space. And number two, fix the defense. That has been their goal all through the last couple of days. And I imagine it will continue even once the new league year begins tomorrow. Lots more for the Titans to do in free agency and then, of course, in the draft. It's going to be a different looking roster. It is every year. They tell that to you every single year. And it's true. But this year, more than probably ever before, because of the cap crunch, rosters are going to look different. And the Titans roster is absolutely going to look different next year. And at the moment, it looks like the offense is going to take a step back, and the defense better take a step forward with some of the moves that they are making. Our phone lines are open tonight. 737-7767 is the number. Love to hear from you. Love to talk about some of these cap moves and who's come, who's gone for the Titans, other moves around the NFL. We can dive into that. We can talk about the NCAA tournament as well. Again, phone lines open, 737-7767. This is Sportsline. You're watching News Channel 5 Plus. We'll be right back.